I can't remember how that went. Where you're at with those?
Oh, with the match counter.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
he didn't make the
Danny,
cut.
you didn't make the most
Okay, sorry.
matches in AEW during the pandemic. I don't think you did. I gotta double check it.
Who, me?
Yeah,
Yeah, he
I
did.
think it might have been Jungle Boy.
I think it was
it
definitely
was
Jungle Boy.
Jungle Boy, and then Serpentico.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Serpentico was very proud of the fact that he was second.
Yes, he was.
Tweeting all about
And then
it.
he did the same thing for WWE last night and Ricochet was asking him about the accuracy. So.
He was asking if we counted as main event matches, and I had to clarify the tally. But yeah, we were making these graphics just to kind of spotlight the guys who were.
I did do a lot of
doing
matches.
all these matches during the during the pandemic.
So.
Some of these guys worked a ton of matches. Yeah.
Hit record on that guy. Hit record on this guy. Got our backups going. All right, I'll do a little bit of intro, and we will get into it.
Oh, Casey Navarro wrestled in 3 major companies too.
Yeah, I watched him like on 3 promotions in a week. And he was on Warrior that I did this past week. But I think it was him and Dante.
Yeah, Dante's great too.
Yeah, jeez. First time I saw those guys come out was right before they got signed at AEW. Like I don't think they even appeared yet, and I was like, they just blew my mind. Yeah. All right. Hey guys, it's the Indie Mayhem Show. I'm Mike Sorg at Sorgatron on Twitter here in the Sorgatron Media Studios in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And we got a special one with you here today. But first of all, I want to give a shout out. Hey, I got a co-host to help me out today. Matt Carlins of Just Pro Wrestling News is hanging out with me today. How you doing, Matt?
It's awesome to be here. I wouldn't have missed this for the world.
Yes, this is a long time coming, today's interview. But first, please go check out everything at WrestlingMayhemShow.com and IndieWrestling.us. You'll find plenty of great past interviews that we've done. Most recently, Sam Beal of Impact Wrestling we talked to a couple of weeks ago. We find out how he got the perm and everything, and a lot of other great stuff like Wrestling Mayhem Show, a lot of chatter that we do every week there. Please subscribe to the show on your podcast player or, of course, the IndieWrestling.us, YouTube, and all those places. So you don't miss an episode. We got a lot of cool stuff coming in the coming weeks. So this is a special one because if you follow me on @Sorgatron or @Mayhem Show, I find myself watching AEW Dark late Tuesdays as I'm editing 3 podcasts that we do every week, and there was always a bright, shiny limelight in the night that that held between Taz's commentary and this gentleman that's got me through a long nights of editing by throwing some AEW on. Danny Limelight is on the show. We got him, guys. We got him. Danny, thank you so much for joining us.
What's going on, baby? How y'all doing? Thank you for having me on the show. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to talk wrestling with you guys and whatever else, man. Excellent. I did watch the show last week, by the way, and I do want to hear those 3 matches still.
We did it Tuesday. We did it Tuesday, and they held me to it. They held me to it. And I think I picked John Moxley. I think you had another one with Dante the next week. And there was, I can't remember the third one. Oh, no, I actually said the match that I saw you out there at FSW in Vegas. So.
Oh, okay, sick.
So.
You think the Dante Martin one was better than the Konosuke Takeshita one?
I do remember that one now. That's a good one, too.
You're
That's
right.
My favorite match. That's my favorite match ever.
You're right.
Really?
Yeah. 100%.
What made that one so special?
Well, one, Konosuke, he's the ace of DDT Pro. Dude's a star. He's amazing. We had never met before, and we just magic, like it just felt so easy. And one thing that there was this one point in the match where he hits me with this like pop-up power bomb, and we're laying there, and I can hear the fans like really pop, but the fans were the wrestlers. It was like the guys that were wrestling on Dark the next week or whatever, and they're like really chanting, "This is awesome!" I'm like, we're laying there, and I remember just visibly thinking to myself, like, "Yeah, we got them." And I remember also thinking, like, if this was a fucking sold out arena right now, this place would be going fucking insane.
Especially
that's
that
like
crowd.
The perfect example of the Forbidden Door phenomenon, where to see Takeshita come over here, I know he had a great reputation over there. Did you ever imagine you'd get to share a ring with him?
No, I never thought I would. You know, it's one of those things where he's in a whole different company, and not that he's wrestling for New Japan. You know, where I wrestle at, he's wrestling for a different company out there. So, you know, I didn't think it was possible. Then when he was there, you know, I didn't think of all the people in the locker room that were gonna put him with me. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it was like an honor to have that match with him. You know?
And that's the thing. And that's to me, I want to say magical thing about like what they're doing with Dark and Elevation is like, you know, the other guy's show. He's a little bit of an AEW detractor. He's like, oh, it's a bunch of jobber matches and stuff. I was like, yeah, man, but if the jobbers all kicked ass, you know, you know, it's because you know, maybe hey, the Dynamite guy's going to win or something, but I know like you guys are going to go out there and put on a damn good match, you know. You know, Serpentico is a guy I know as a Ophidian back in the day, right? And I know he's going to put on a good match no matter what happens, you know. And so like you're getting exposed to guys like you know that or you'll then see on the indies, you know, a lot of guys here from Pittsburgh we've seen show up over there, like Andrew Palace in the main event and PB Smooth, right? Like it's still a platform, and you guys like get to show off a little bit. Like whoever thought that people would be into a Fuego del Sol, right? So these become a thing too.
And Fuego's smart though. Fuego, you know, he utilized the vlogs and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
To help boost his, you know, his popularity, I guess is the right word to say. He's a smart man, and it worked out for him. Hopefully he gets signed.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, you've had it's been interesting talking to guys like that have come up during this pandemic era. I know I believe you trained with New Japan out there in the LA dojo, correct?
No, I did the New Japan tryout.
The tryout, that's right. So like the come up through that, like first of all, like you mentioned, like kind of like just kind of doing it in front of the fans where the wrestlers, right? Like, is that something special when you're getting a reaction out of them? You know, it's not just like them trying to get riled up, and you know, it's kind of genuine.
Yeah, it because you know you could tell when it's like them doing what they're supposed to do, and then when it's a genuine reaction. And I feel like, you know, when me and Takeshita was there, you know, it felt genuine, it felt real. And I feel like a lot of the matches that I had on Dark Elevation, I was able to draw that reaction from them, just with the innovation, the creativity, and all that stuff. And the opponents that I was wrestling, you know, I was able to get in the ring with them. My time in AEW was so much fun for the fact that I was able to get into the ring with their very best, you know.
Yeah.
Kenny Omega, John Moxley, Seidel, Cage, Phoenix, you know, Frankie Kazarian, like it was Jungle Boy in the first episode of Elevation ever. Like there's just some kind of trust that was there, or whatever word you want to use, you know. They believed in me, and they believed in my abilities and what I could do, and it was so much fun.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
Could you feel the trust growing in you over time as you were working more and more of those shows?
Yes, I felt like it kind of happened so fast almost. It was like I made my debut in the end of October, and then January 1st, I'm making my Dynamite debut against Kenny Omega. And, you know, leading up to that, you know, I had like a 6-man tag in my debut. Then I had a tag match. And then it was just singles. Brandon Cutler, Brian Cage, Matt Seidel again, Ray Phoenix. And as I'm having these matches, and I'm like, man, they're getting better and better. They're giving me more and more time. You know, I felt the trust. You know, after my match with Ray Phoenix, I vividly remember going into the locker room and sitting down. And Ray Phoenix is a very good friend of mine. And I remember thinking to myself, what else can I do, or who else can I wrestle to show the more? You know, like what else? Like I just had a banger with Ray Phoenix, you know. And then like the next loop, it was like Kenny Omega, and I was like, okay, I guess this is the next, you know, this is the final boss, is what it felt like. And it was after you know the Kenny Omega match where they signed me to the Tier 0 contract.
Nice. So and I guess so we're talking about AEW, and of course you also pop up on New Japan Strong
Yes.
several times over the last
Team still
year.
deep, but fuck Chris Dickinson.
Yep. So we gotta show you did inspire something that we do on the show that's become a regular bit, because of course, like when Kenta came and it opened the forbidden door, and it just seemed the floodgates happened, and Good Brothers and all that stuff. So I pitched this idea to Matt here, and we put together we call this the Forbidden Door Crazy Wall. And you were one of the first people that be on there. Of course, it was the Kenta thing and everything, and there you are right there, and we got you're in this batch here. with Kenta and everybody strung over to AEW and New Japan. And we've been trying to keep up as much as we can. And of course,
I know this looks a little bit confusing, but it's very organized, Danny. You gotta.
No, I see.
But you were asking about, wrestlers who were working more than 2 companies recently, working 3 companies like yourself. And if you look at this, we've managed to find. I think we figured out that Rocky Romero.
Yeah,
Has also worked that kind of same grouping. He's even worked ROH.
Oh, that's right, he did.
And there's been some others that have popped up recently too. Thunder Rosa just worked
Impact. That's right.
Impact. So that's a 3rd company that she's got on her resume now. So it's
Casey
crazy.
Navarro.
Yeah.
I forgot Leo Rush too, because Leo Rush did MLW as well. He was in New Japan, and he did the Battle Royale in AEW. Yeah.
And
so it seems like it would be like this would not be something that would get very much out of hand, but this is actually this is like our latest update from a few weeks ago, and we're already working on another update based on the stuff that's come out of the past weekend with Impact's Slammiversary show. And it's just a whole nother wave of like 3 or 4 more people that we have to find room on this board for. So it's crazy to see all of this movement. And I guess just to turn this into a question for you, what do you think about all this free-flowing talent, and what do you sense, a lot of the other wrestlers, how they feel about it?
Oh man, I don't know or care how the other wrestlers feel about it. I always worried about myself, and I think it's awesome. I think it's so dope that companies are working together, because now look at all the possibilities of matchups that you have. It's one of those things where talent is able to showcase themselves on television for multiple different companies to multiple different kind of fans, because there are some fans that only watch Impact or only watch AEW or only watch, MLW or WWE, whatever have you. And now that these wrestlers are able to jump around, walk through the forbidden door, more fans get to see them. And I think that it's great for wrestling. I was seeing, when Jay White popped up at Impact, at Slammiversary, I thought that was insane, because everybody knows Jay White is a New Japan guy. Like that's who he is. And he's there. That's something that people probably never expected. I didn't expect it. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I didn't expect that. So seeing that, I was like, man, this is dope, And then you think of the matchups, Chris Bay finding a Bullet Club shirt on his chair. Now, it leaves you to wonder what's going to happen with that. When Kenta came to AEW, it was insane. It was like, oh shit, Kenta is here, and John Moxley carrying the IWGP US Championship back and forth from New Japan to AEW, defending it on AEW. There's so much going on. Even with me, being able to wrestle the people that I was wrestling at AEW, and then wrestle the people that I was wrestling on New Japan Strong, and being part of the Team Filthy faction, and then now the things that I'm doing with MLW, like it's just I'm excited. I love it. I think it's awesome, and that's my opinion on it.
You mentioned MLW, and definitely when we got word that you had popped up at that MLW show, that was definitely one of those shocking moments too. I know Sorg and I were sending texts to each other, and we're like, "Oh my God, Danny's in MLW." How'd that come together for you?
So my contract with AEW had just finished. I had met my contract obligations, and like obviously, I didn't know where I was going to do next. I was kind of trying to figure out where I wanted to go, what was the right move for me. And I didn't really have time to think, because within like 2 days, Conan hit me up, and he was, I've known Conan for years. He's the one that brought me to AAA back in the day. He's the one that brought me to the Crash in Mexico. And he was like, yo, Danny, what's going on? Da, 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 da. We started having a little talk, catching up, and he's like, yo, so hear me out. LAX, you and Slice Boogie, what you think? And I was just like, oh yeah, because people that know me and watch all the stuff that I do, they know that I'm United Wrestling Network Tag Team Champions with the Bodega, and Slice Boogie is part of the Bodega. So me and Slice already have that chemistry in it. And Slice is an up-and-comer, running with NWA Power, starting to really get some steam behind him. I thought it would be a great idea, and the fucking reaction that we got when we came out, I don't want to spoil it, but
yeah, I'm afraid to say too much too. But that tag team, that name, LAX,
Yeah.
That's got some cachet. That's got a lineage.
Yes.
So,
And I think that
I mean, that's
to
got to
me-
mean something to you to be
yeah,
able to.
I think that to me is why I didn't second guess it. You know, it it was one of those things where I was like, I could sit around and wait to see what these other companies want to do. I know that I had worked my ass off this last year and really created some kind of buzz or enough that a company would want me on their roster. I think that I proved myself. You know, I mean, I already wrestled the best in the world, so you can't put anybody in front of me that I wouldn't be able to hold my own in the ring. I don't care what you say. You know, Kenny Omega or John Moxley. Like I was able to go in there with two of the best wrestlers in the world and show you, two world champions right now, two of the three world champions at AEW. So I knew I wasn't going to be sitting around free agent for long. But for me, when it was LAX, and Santana Ortiz are my boys. Those are my dudes, man. I got a lot of love for them. And when I heard the idea, it was a no-brainer for me. I love being a face for Latinos, Puerto Ricans, being able to represent for the culture. There's a legacy that comes with LAX, Homicide Hernandez, Santana Ortiz. Like, it's always an evolving, machine. It just keeps, okay, these guys, they come through, they do their thing. Now the next group of Latinos come and represent. And I think that for me, I was like, man, I have a chance to be that image for Latinos. And so why would I not want to do that? You know what I'm saying? I'm already running around with a Puerto Rican bandana on my head. I'm already calling myself Papi. I'm already, doing this. I just didn't have Conan behind me. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like when you're working with someone like Conan, who's a legend, you can't fail. You're only going to learn. It's only going to be great for you. And I think that me and Slice, we were on the same page with that. I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I feel like, each iteration of LAX has been so different from the previous. Homicide Hernandez was very different from Santana and Ortiz. And now I know for a fact that me and Slice are going to be very different in both of those groups. Just because our styles are so much different, especially mine. I can do it all, so I'm excited to see what happens. And I will say that, me and Slice definitely have our eyes on Tag Team Championship Gold in MLW.
So I just want to ask you specifically about the deal that you have with MLW and what it means for opportunities outside of MLW, indies, and whether, at least for the foreseeable future, we may have seen the last of you in AEW and New Japan, at least for now.
I think for the foreseeable future, you may have seen the last of me at AEW, but the door was kept open, for a possible return one day. They spoke highly of my work ethic and my work. I know that I have a really good relationship with Tony Khan. He's an amazing human. He's an amazing person to work for. But I am still able to work for New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I am still able to work for the United Wrestling Network, and I'm still able to do my indie dates. So, there's still, 3 out of 4 chances you're going to see me on your TV in a week. So we will see. We will see.
And we've had that too. We're just like, like how many times a week are we seeing you this week?
Yeah, I'm like one of those needy boyfriends that just keep popping up at your house, and you just have to let me in because you don't have a choice because you love seeing me anyways.
We're waiting for you to pull what we called a Rick Rude, because I know that one girl was on both Raw and AEW on the same night last week.
Who was it?
Kelsey Heather, I think, is the name. I really hope I didn't mess it up. But yeah, she was working as one of Lashley's ladies, and she worked Elevation the same night. She pulled the Rick Rude.
Yeah, I think I'm Rick Ruding this weekend.
There you go. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I'm gonna be in Massachusetts this Saturday wrestling JT Dunn at XWA.
Nice. And of course the MLW, I think the premiere of a lot of those tapings starts this Saturday, you were saying?
Yeah, Battle Riot 3 starts this Saturday.
Battle Riot 3.
Whatever that means to anybody, I don't know.
We all just watched the first Battle Riot on the Wrestling Mayhem show, and I think like again, one of the detractors that usually doesn't jump on some of this stuff is like, I need to see Battle Riot and what happens. So,
yes.
So
it's gonna be insane. It's gonna be an insane show, I'm sure.
Looking forward to that. I think I just cleared my Saturday for that one. I don't care. WWE's in town. But anyways, so again, looking back on things, and kind of rolling back for a minute here. I watched your thing with the Big Show. Also, I love that Big Show's conducting interviews because I've listen. I've done interviews where a tall girl interviewed a couple of programmers that are like half her size, and I just love that like the biggest interviewer in the world is conducting these right now. So, but you mentioned you started kind of getting wrestling. I think you said around 1997, right?
Yes.
I'm curious, like, what was like kind of the first thing that caught your attention? You talked about the theater and everything of it, but what was like kind of that first like, oh hey, there's something here?
Well, I mean, it was Shawn Michaels and Undertaker in Hell in a Cell,
Yeah.
Bad Blood. And I think that in the 90s, there was no one hotter than Undertaker and Shawn Michaels in 1997. So I think it was just the energy from the audience and the story they were telling in the ring, and then Kane coming out and all this stuff happening that I was like, man, this is like sick, and I was so invested that when Kane came out to like, screw Undertaker over, like I was so mad. I turned the TV off in the middle of the match, like or the back end of the match. Like
that was a pay-per-view.
And I remember my dad like smacking me in the back of the head because he was watching it. He was a wrestling fan. And so that was my first like actual memory of wrestling. I didn't know anything about WCW or, Ring of Honor or New Japan or all those other companies. So I didn't even know there was such thing as the Indies. I just knew WWF, WWE, whatever you want to call it. And I immediately, was gravitated towards The Rock. And I think around 97, 98 is when The Rock really started, becoming a superstar. And it's just the way that he electrified, the way he talked, I never really knew what was good wrestling, I guess. Like, I didn't know any difference of, oh, this guy is the best worker in the room, I just watched it for the entertainment, the story. And there was no one, in my opinion, that could make me want to watch a match more than The Rock, just by the way he talked shit about the person. It's like, man, this guy's talking so much shit, and I'm like here for it. Like, I want to know all his catchphrases, and then, as I got a little bit older, and The Rock stepped away, went Hollywood, Eddie Guerrero was my guy. And, he was great on the microphone, but I started learning more about the wrestling, and I was just a fan of his energy and the way he moved in the ring. And, and that's when I would say that, like, I was like, I want to be a professional wrestler. I really want to do this. Obviously my teachers in school didn't think that I could, didn't think it was possible to make a living doing it. But they were wrong, so.
Yeah. So, and of course, flash forward, you went to the Marines. The detailed, the great interview you did with Paul White there, and you got into wrestling. I've always been fascinated, especially lately. We've been having a lot of conversations with guys that have been in the military and went into wrestling either as like the next thing to do, or to get themselves out of maybe they had a bad experience afterwards or something. But there's always, I notice, and especially with you, like we were just talking before the show about the stunt work you're doing and everything, right?
Yeah.
Like there's always like a different level, it seems, of determination to get through it. Like after you go through something like the Marines, like wrestle training, difficult, but you got to be more mentally prepared for something like that, right?
Yeah. I think that well, first of all, Paul White is awesome.
Yes.
It was so cool to sit down and talk with him. And he really definitely, put me over on the interview and put me over on commentary week in and week out. But I had met him in 2014. I had just started training to be a wrestler, and he was in Camp Pendleton. And I remember seeing him and trying to take a picture with him, and I was being a mark and, just wanted to let him know, hey, I'm going to train to be a wrestler, and I'm sure back then it was like whatever to him, like he probably didn't even remember the conversation the minute I walked away, or maybe he did. He's a great human. But being able to fast forward and to sit down with him, it was like one of those surreal moments for me. It was like, man, I told this man that I was gonna do this for a living one day, and here we are, he's interviewing me because I'm doing it now, so with the Marine Corps set me up for success. It breeds champions, it breeds better human beings. It breeds hard workers. It amplifies your discipline and your determination to adapt and overcome senses that a lot of people don't have because they've never been put in an uncomfortable situation like that. So transitioning into wrestling, it was a lot easier for me as far as the physical side of things. But obviously wrestling had its own issues and its own things that you need to learn along the way. Everybody has obstacles that they overcome. So with that, and then the wrestling transitioning into the stunts, and the stunts transitioning into the acting, and now doing all of it, everything that 5-year-old, 8-year-old me wanted to do as a kid, like I'm doing it now. I don't wake up, put on a fucking tie, and go to work and hate life. I'm excited when I wake up. I rolled out of bed. I was like, I got an interview today. Let's do it. Like I got to go be on set in a little bit to go over some stunts for a film. Let's do it. Like I'm excited. I got to fly to Massachusetts this weekend to go wrestle. Like I look forward to what I do because I have so much fun doing it. And I feel like I'm so good at it too.
That's awesome. So, getting into it, what sorry, I lost my train of thought. I still need more coffee, obviously. So.
Let me pick up the ball because
Please.
I wanted to get into some of this movie and film work that you've been doing, Danny.
Yes.
I know there's a short film that's just showing right now. Maybe it's making the festival rounds right now.
Yes.
You want to talk about
so Joe Riv is a film that I wrote, produced, starred in, did my own stunts, coordinated everybody else's stunts in. I worked with Miko Sad, as an award-winning Egyptian filmmaker. He directed the film. I worked with Nick Herms, who was the second unit director. He's done a lot of films. He's a huge stunt legend in Hollywood. He's done films like Transformers, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, American Sniper, Tax Collector. Like the list goes on and on. He has like almost 100 credits on IMDb. He came out and helped direct the shooting of the action scenes. And I just worked with a really great stunt crew. And now the movie's going to premiere for the first time, July 29th at 7:30 p.m. in Las Vegas. Tickets are on sale now at the Action Film Festivals. And we were selected of 4 festivals, 2 finalist submissions, 1 semifinalist submission, and another one still pending. And I'm excited to see what the film does. I have a pitch ready. I have a full script ready. And I'm excited to see how the short film does, because the plan is to eventually push this into a full feature-length film, about 90-minute runtime. And I'm excited.
Usually we see everybody getting into movies after their wrestling career, but it sounds like you're just hedging your bets at this point.
Man, good things come to those who wait. Only those things left by those who didn't wait. So for me, I want to just grind. If I got free time, like yesterday, like I was sitting on my bed, I had nothing to do for a little bit. I started writing another script, just working on a little short, and we're shooting it tomorrow. I'm gonna go shoot a little short tomorrow for help somebody out.
Nice.
2 of my buddies that they wanted some certain scenes for their reels so they could send it to an agent and show the agent what they can do. So I wrote it real quick. I'm going to shoot it tomorrow, edit it, put it together for them. Boom. Real fast. And then, just a lot of things, man. I like to stay busy. I like to grind. I love the hustle, like I remember as a kid watching the movie Paid in Full, and it's a street movie, it's gangsters, drugs, and all that stuff. But there was this one character, and his name was Money Making Mitch, and he had all the money. He was one of the biggest, dope dealers, and this is all based on a true story too. This film, and but I'm not saying that that's good, drug dealing and the shooting and all that stuff, but his mentality towards loving the hustle and loving the feeling that I have to wake up and hustle to get what I want to be happy, that always stuck with me, And the same thing with Scarface. Like Tony Montana, he wasn't a good guy by any means. He was the bad guy. But he accepted that he was the bad guy. He said to himself, you need people like me to point your finger and say that's the bad guy. But it was the fact that Tony Montana was able to come from absolutely nothing. And because of his grind, his balls, his work ethic, his hunger, and how smart he is and quick he was able to adapt to his environment coming in as an immigrant, how he rose to the top. And for me, like, when you grow up in New York City and Brooklyn, you're Latino, like these are your role models in a sense. These are the guys that you look at, you're like, man, like, if this guy could come from nothing and make it, I wanna do the same. Of course, I chose the Marine Corps and wrestling and acting over shooting and drugs and stuff like that. But it's the same concept. It's the same hunger, the same grind, not being satisfied where you're at, not being complacent, wanting more. I always want more. I'm never satisfied. And I think that's it could be a problem one day, but for now, like, it's gotten me where I'm at.
And it sounds like it probably helps you more, like, mentally too, because like when the AEW contract comes up, and like how many people are like, they have like, for whatever group their contract comes up, but they don't know what to do next, right? Like you sound like you had about 10 things to do next if MLW didn't come calling. So
I did, and you know, like right now, for example, you know, like I said, I'm flying. I have indie dates, you know, but at the end of the month, I'm going to the film festival. I'll meet at 3 days, premiering my film, doing a Q&A, then going to the ceremony, hopefully winning awards for the film. And as soon as that's done, like I have no time in between because then I'm back on set, you know, for this one film with Nick Kerms. He's the one that brought me in. I'm going to be a part of his film. I have to be there on set today to work on the stunts. And then in the end of August, you know, after I'm done with this film, I'm rolling into another film, a horror film that I booked, and I'm playing one of the lead killers in the film. So I have that lined up, and then, you know, just wrestling nonstop, wrestling dates all the way going out to, you know, December timeframe right now. It's one of those things where if you sit down and you're like, woe is me, what can I do, where do I go from here? By just getting up and going after it, like it's a very different mentality. It's very two very different people, you know. And I'd rather be the one that's like, all right, like I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. Like, what's next?
That's awesome. That's great. So normally this part of the show, I will ask, what's the best and worst thing about indie wrestling? But I kind of want to ask, what's the best and worst thing about traveling through the Forbidden Door so much?
And the best thing is that, you know, I get to wrestle all these guys. I get to see how all these other companies are run. I get to see, you know, what my competition is like. You know, I get to see, you know, what the fans are like. I get to meet new people, experience new experiences, see new states, new cities, places I've never been. And like, for example, you know, being in Philly, that was insane to me. I had never wrestled in Philly, so that was dope, you know. And then, you know, the bad parts, there's not really no bad parts. Like, I love what I do. I don't ever dread it. I mean, sometimes when I'm sitting on a flight, I'm like, oh man, like I gotta fly all day today, or I gotta lay over here and this place sucks. This airport's trash. Every time I see I gotta lay over in Dallas, Fort Worth, I'm ready to like
yeah, I've spent a lot of time in that airport. Yes.
Right back real quick. Can we pause? I'm gonna go hit this pre-workout.
Okay, go ahead.
Go for it.
All right, I'm gonna pause that there. Do you have much more you want to do here, Matt?
Yeah, I got a couple more questions, just general stuff about.
Okay, no problem.
I got like 3 more.
Okay. Hit your 3, and if I don't come anything, we'll just hit with a wrap up. I don't want to keep him too long since he's got stuff to do.
He's got pre-workout in him now. He's gonna have a lot of energy now.
Yeah, now we're gonna go another hour because he's all energized, right? So
now he's ready to go.
So Chachi's really wants to know who said the F this tweet last night.
It wasn't me.
It was me. It was me. I was really mad about that. So
I was listening back to last night. I'm like, what the hell was wrong with me?
Yeah.
I was out of control.
All right.
Yeah, you rolling, Sorg?
Yeah, go ahead.
So Danny, in your travels and all these places that you're working, have you run into anybody who's working as hard as you, working as many matches as you? And would you like to name names for us?
Yeah, I think Casey Navarro is somebody who's really busting his ass right now. He's, like I said, he was on Impact, he was on AEW, he was on MLW. All the indie dates he's been taking. He's someone who's killing it right now, who's still a free agent. Ashley Vox, you know, from the Sea Stars. She's another one that's killing it right now that I've seen. She's doing great work at AEW. You know, she was at MLW, and you know, now she's doing a lot of indie dates as well. She's someone who's kicking ass. I think there are a lot of people that are working hard. I just think that I do so much more, you know, and not only in the sense of wrestling, you know, just the grind that it takes to be a professional wrestler is very similar to the grind to be an actor and a stuntman. Like, it's not like I wake up and I'm like, oh, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, I got to be on set today, you know, like, and it's like a guaranteed job every day. No, you have to hustle, you have to grind. So that's a whole nother grind that I'm doing. You know, on top of that, like, people tend to forget that I'm also a father. Like I have a little girl who's 7 years old, who's also in the same grind. She's acting, she's doing commercials, she's doing films. So like, not only am I working on my grind, now I'm managing her grind, making sure she's knocking out her auditions on time and stuff like that. So there are a lot of people working hard, but I feel like between all the things that I do, you know, I'm it's never ending.
He's
I think you read my mind because my last question was going to be about being a father and just asking you, just curious in general. Like, I mean, I'm a dad too, so like, how do you balance? How do you manage, your own personal drive with being a dad?
It's hard. Fortunately, her mom is awesome. Her mom is she's still in the Marine Corps. She's a Marine Corps recruiter right now.
nice.
So we have a really good co-parenting relationship. Um, and I think that when I'm out of town or I'm on the road, like her mom has it, and then when my daughter's with me, I there are times where I'll still do her interview and she's sitting here on the bed watching TV and I'm doing an interview or, but whenever I have to travel, I don't bring her, it's just me. I keep that stress off of her. But when I'm with her, it's fun. We're going to the pool, we're going to Disney, we're going somewhere, we're doing something, watching movies, laughing. So it's just time management. There's 86,400 seconds in a day. What do you do with your time?
Wow. Has she expressed any interest in professional wrestling?
Yeah, we wrestle all the time. And she'll get up and she'll like, introducing the radioactive Poppy, Danny Limelight. And then she'll be like, and his opponent, Lisi Limelight. And she'll like, mi gente. And she'll try to like do my like taunts and stuff like that. And then we'll lock up and then we'll wrestle and we just have fun. I throw her around the room. She fights back. She never, ever, for some reason, she just kicks out of everything. So, I always got to do the job.
Tough to get those wins over your kids. Very tough.
They don't know how to work. She doesn't know how to work.
Yeah.
Not very generous when it's time to grapple.
Not at all.
So, I got to ask, so where did the radioactive Poppy come from?
That came from, the radioactive came from comics, came from Spider-Man.
Nice.
The radioactive spider biting him, the genes. And then Poppy because, I'm a Poppy, and honestly, also the Poppy is also like homage to Eddie Guerrero,
Nice.
I'm your Poppy. So, yeah, it's I just put those two together and I felt like it fit me, so.
That's awesome. Well, it's been great chatting with you. I know you got a lot to do here, getting on set here today and everything.
Oh,
yeah. But it was great to actually meet you in person out in Vegas as well, and having that opportunity too. So,
it was great talking to you guys. I had a lot of fun. This was a lot of fun. I wish we had more. We can sit and talk a little bit longer if you want, but.
So yeah.
This is the part where we ask you, where we get you hooked in for the comeback sometime, and we're gonna have you back on the show again.
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely. I'm down to come back whenever you guys want. Just hit me up. For everybody listening, thank you so much for listening. And if you're not following me already, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Danny Limelight. Go to prowrestlingtees.com/Danny Limelight and be on the lookout for Joe Rib when it hits. Thank you guys so much.
There you go. Go support him. He's one of those guys that's been a really special thing to see on our TVs, literally all over the place. And it's going to be doing some big things here in a couple years, in the coming years. So thank you so much, Danny, for joining us. And, of course, everybody, thank you for joining us. And thanks, Matt, for helping out with the interview here this morning. So if you have not yet, please subscribe to the Indie Mayhem Show or the Wrestling Mayhem Show super feed on your podcast provider, or check out everything at indiewrestling.us. A lot of great action happening over there. Thank you so much. And until next time, please support indie wrestling. Should have done a different out on that one, but that's the usual. All right, so I am done with the main show, but that's fun. No, I try to keep them like 30, 40 minutes.
That's perfect. No, it's perfect. Thank you so much.
Just for what it is. So, but no, thank you for doing this. So
I feel like I need to go do some work around the house now.
Yes.
Get myself going now.
If I didn't already, I have a stacked day, and I'm like, how can I do more?
Yes. I think I need to find something else to do today. Yeah.
That's
great. It's very inspirational. I really enjoyed it.
No, I love those stories. I love those messages, man. That's exactly why I do this, because I love hearing, like, it was a little bit of like partially like, okay, that's why I asked like what got you into wrestling, because I wanted to show that like you're here because you were a fan kind of thing. And who's a bigger fan than the people that got to do it, right? So, but also that, like, what does it take to do this, right? I think that's just, fans need that. Like even they're not like going to get in wrestling, some of them just need the motivation, right? So, I think
never know who's listening.
Yeah. So
there's always stuff to apply to all those. It's interesting how you talked about how you know, you're a fan watching, you know, Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, but then you see Eddie, and it activated something else in your brain
Mhm.
Yeah.
when you're watching. Because I remember having that similar experience when I was just being a fan and watching, you know, whatever was on, and then I'd see Dean Malenko for the first time, and it was just the way he moved in the ring.
Mhm.
Suddenly, I was like, there's a lot more going on here than I realized.
Yeah.
And you start to watch more closely, and you start to take more out of it. So
Yeah, that whole cruiserweight section of that era just like completely
Insane.
opened
Yeah.
your mind.
Completely insane.
Yeah,
hmm
because I was the same way. I didn't know, like I didn't have cable, I had satellite until '96, so I didn't know anything about it other than whatever was on my Sunday morning WWF after the church programming show. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
so it was just like, you know, other than like magazines every once in a while, I'd pick on and be like, who's this Ric Flair guy, right? Until I came over. So, but yeah, man, just as soon as we hit Nitro and saw like that kind of stuff, it was just like, man, you know,
Insane.
yeah.
Thank you guys so much for having me, man.
no
All right,
problem.
thanks a lot.
Have a
Good
Hopefully,
luck with
good
the
day, guys.
film.
We'll talk soon. Okay. Thank you so much.
all right,
All right.
thanks a lot.